So we're going to give you a quick overview of what the medical school journey will look like for the application and throughout your all still in college, what your next couple years may or may not look like. So you can update them on that. So this is a quick timeline of the application, so I'll show it all in there. The timeline usually takes about a year to a year and a half. So what it looks like is, so in March is when you should request a letter rex. What we recommend is actually requesting a letter rex right after you take that class with that teacher, because that's the one they remember you the most. That's when you have the most interaction with them. So it's more fresh in their mind than asking, if like if you take a chemistry class your first year and asking like 3-4 years down the line, they might not remember you so much or even remember your face or your name. Most schools have a career center where they have a bank that you can actually put those letter recs in, and it will be sealed for and kept for I think up to 5 years. So at UCLA there is one that's up to 5 years. So I'm pretty sure at the other UC and Cal State or wherever you go, they have a test where they can keep those letter recs. And a suggestion that we talked about was that you can always ask your teacher to update it. So they already have that, and they can just update it with a date or something else that you've done and include from that time that you asked them to write to now when you're going to submit. So it's easier for them, and it's easier for you to just have it ready by the time you apply. April should be when you start on your personal statement. I mean, you start as early as possible, but this time you should get a brief draft or have some sort of outline so you can talk to someone, like any of the doctors or any of the medical students, to help you look over and really improve and really, spice it up for that application. In May is when the AMCAS open, and this is when you should start creating an account. And what they do is they'll give you an ID number for you to request your transcript to be sent into the system. So get that account and go directly to your admission office and ask them to get your transcript ready. So that way it'll be ready when you want to apply. Because your application isn't complete until all the materials are in. From June to December is when you should start submitting your AMCAS application. The earlier the possible, because most of the schools are rolling basis. So if you submit earlier, you have a high chance to get into the interview slots and also one of those seats that are available. For secondary, it really depends on the school, and it also depends on when they process your application. So, I mean, they range from a couple weeks to like months. So you shouldn't really be too stressed out about it. But when you do receive a secondary, people recommend that you should start on it right away and submit it right away, because you do want, like I said, to apply as early as possible. And then after secondaries, you should get, like I said, this is very tentative. It really depends on the school you apply to and the position that you're in. So it really depends on when you receive secondary to receive an interview. So interviews will come a little after the secondary once you pass everything. And that's when you should start preparing. So flight tickets, hotel, really look into things to get prepared for that interview. And then after your interview, the hard part is getting those letters of rather rejection or waitlist or acceptance. But this is like a basic timeline. We can't give you an exact timeline because it really depends on each school and each student. But this is just a brief overview of what you should expect. And then following year, so August, July to August to September.
Our next slide is on application and MCAT. So primary medical school application. I'm just going to show on the slide so that you guys can read it as I'm talking. Primary medical school application. So biographical information is self-explanatory. So it's your name, age, gender. Are you female or male? Are you human or not? So grades and GPA, that's on your transcript. So you guys should know what to do with this part. And then your MCAT. So speaking of your MCAT, week 3 of our seminar, we will have a person from Princeton Review to come here and give you guys kind of like a trial class. Personal statement. So this is like high school all over again. You have to write a personal statement. Why do you want to be a doctor? Everyone asks you that. Why do you want to be a doctor? So many years and you're still in school. That's a long time. 15 entries for extracurricular activities. So pick wisely. So I'm pretty sure everyone here does a lot of stuff. Volunteering, internships, sports, anything. So you guys guys want to pick out the ones that are really meaningful. What did you learn from that event? What did you learn from doing that stuff? So it's not like, oh, hey, I play volleyball. Yeah. Good at volleyball. Yeah. No, it has to be, what did volleyball teach me? Like, how does it make me a better person somehow? And then you have your letters of recommendation, as Anne was mentioning before, of how you should ask your teacher right away and not like 4 or 3 years down the road.
So if you have a lot of activities that's very interesting, you should list it, because the person who interviewing you may be doing the same thing. And if you can connect with them, that's always a positive things. Like, for instance, scuba diving, surfing, horseback riding, playing piano, you know? Because a lot of, believe it or not, doctors are very similar. So most of the time you end up with people who have very similar interests with you.
One more thing about that. So the 15 entries, you get to designate 3 of them as meaningful experiences. So that's your chance to expand on more than like 700 characters that you're given. You're given an extra 1,500. And that's your chance to really talk about how that impacted you as a person, how you see that affecting your medical profession. And I recently started helping out with interviews at UCI for med school. And it's weird being on the other side, but you see how important it is to come across well in your application, in your written application. Because that will color how I view the interviewee when I actually sit down and interview with them. And unfortunately, I had someone who only chose to designate 2 meaningful experiences when they had the chance to write about 3. That to me tells me that, were you really not able to see that one of your other like 8 experiences weren't meaningful to you? Like, couldn't you have made something more of that? So, you know, you're given a tool set on this application, utilize it to the maximum capacity that you can to put your best foot forward. Yes, question.
What if you only have 3, but they're the most meaningful things?
Well, you have to then do.
What?
Then you have to.
No, like out of the 15, you only put down 3, but those 3 are.
You only have 3
You only
options.
have-
You only have 3 slots to make the meaningful experience.
Yeah, I know, but I mean like, if out of 15,
Yeah.
you only have involved yourself in 3 extracurricular activities in general, and they have been the most meaningful. So like you have all these slots that are empty.
I see.
You only have 3. Yeah. So
Yeah.
how does that look
I see.
to you?
I personally think you should have at least 6.
For yourself?
I mean, I don't think there is like a clear-cut number that you need to aim for, but I mean, Dave, I guess.
So I was actually on the admissions committee. When you're first year there, you get to interview people. When you get to 3rd and 4th year, you actually get to sit on a panel. You can actually have a vote in people's applications. So just touching on the extracurricular activities, you have 15 slots, 3 of which are most important. Now those 15 slots have to include everything: your volunteer work, your research, your hobbies, anything else that is at all relevant to what you do, or even just things that you spend time on, right? So, you know, if you only have 3 things, and one of them is a publication in Nature, or PLS, or a big science journal, and then that's where you spend all of your time. That alone might not be enough. Okay? Some people will put everything. I put my martial arts experience, my medical school class. Kimberly probably say the same thing, but we're really dynamic people. Okay? We're not just a bunch of science nerds sitting around looking at. I mean, we are kind of, but we all have lives outside of medicine, and that's a part of being a physician too. We had ballet dancers, martial artists. We had competitive skiers, concert musicians. We had people who were good at something else outside of medicine, and a lot of